My name is Kevin Pree. I'm the Senior Director here at FMT Consultants, and look forward to walking you through our agenda today. Let's start our tour of 2013 and talk about that business success demands change. There's a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, that his quote is, "You can't step in the same river twice." And what he's really kind of getting at is that change is the only constant in the world. And I think all of us would agree that change is actually accelerating and becoming more and more rapid. And where we see that change is across these four different sections. And so, starting with people first and foremost, for the first time, the generation that's entering the workforce right now, these young 20-some-year-old kids that are coming out of college, this is the first time that we're seeing people enter the workforce that grew up with the internet and grew up with iPhones and iPads and other things. And so their expectation for software solutions as well as just technology itself is that it's always on, that we should be able to just click the on button and be able to use an application and not necessarily need to go through a lot of formal education or read the manual or anything like that. And so applications now are needing to be more intuitive and not require a tremendous amount of learning and curriculum in order to use those things. These are also the same people that are I say hesitant to pick up a phone. I know that my daughter is about 20 years old right now, and she doesn't pick up the phone to call her friends. She's texting them or instant messaging them and so on. And so that connectivity, that social connectivity that we're seeing in the workforce now, needs not only to allow us to connect socially with our friends, but also connect socially with our colleagues, as well as the other people and companies that are in the supply chain that we're dealing with, and be able to do that in a very instantaneous way. And so Microsoft is integrating Office 365 and Lync, the communication tool that allows us to go ahead and communicate using instant messaging, video conferencing, etc., and that's being embedded inside Dynamics GP. We saw it introduced with GP 2010, and it's becoming even more prevalent in GP 2013. The second pillar here is economic change, and I think if we look at the world and look at it as a shrinking place, events that happen a world away, the Arab Spring that happened last year or the year before, the impact on the stock market and here in the U.S. was felt in a matter of hours, where years ago it might be weeks, if not months, before we felt an economic impact on an event that happened a world away. So the world is a shrinking place. And finally, or the third piece here is geopolitical, and I kind of mentioned that in the economic section there, but basically, the politics in the world are impacting everybody's business, not just the U.S. government or our local government. It's actually affecting the way that we do business and how we transact, and our customer base, I think, is also expanding outside of our local geography and into international business, and we need to be up to speed and up to date on the things that are happening in the world and be able to react quicker. I look at it and say that if you're going down the highway and there's these changeable message signs that pop on up and tell you how far it is to a particular destination. You're going to the airport, and the sign will tell you that the airport right now, the commute from that particular sign is 20 minutes away. And so we need to be able to have these signposts that are popping up and allowing us to be very proactive as the world changes. We need to be able to react quickly. And then finally, the technology side of things. The cloud is something that when it was first introduced, I think people were very skeptical about adopting the cloud from a business platform standpoint. It made sense for a lot of personal reasons and other things, but the technology has evolved substantially, and businesses are looking at the cloud as a solid platform to be running their business on, and we're seeing that with Microsoft Dynamics as well, moving to the cloud and allowing you some flexibility, some choice as far as when you're going to adopt the cloud or if you're going to adopt the cloud. So if we look at the changing businesses, how do we become a dynamic business to be able to deal with that change? And it's doing things in a connected way, like I talked about. The integration between Link and the ability to go ahead and chat with suppliers instantaneously. The focus that we're having is not retrospective and collecting data from past events. That's really kind of passive or reactive or backwards looking. We need to be proactive. We need to be focusing on what's happened in the past and being able to predict the future. So a lot of things around metrics and what's going on, and the days of waiting 3 weeks for the financial statements to come on out to show you how your business performed last month, the month of February. By the time that those financials come out, you're already 3 weeks down the road, and if there's a problem within those numbers, say that your costs are out of whack, you've already incurred another 3 weeks, of those costs. And so we need to be very quick to respond and be able to see information rapidly, rather than waiting for things to just come to us at some point in time, like a financial close. And we look at this second piece, connecting across these boundaries, and we need to be kind of laser focused on removing the impediments that generate friction within the organization, providing people with a broader array of insights, like I was talking about, and those insights are not just internal insights, but also external connections. And then on the business workload and suite side of things, the deploying new business applications is traditionally a costly and challenging thing, and Microsoft has gone a long way to shrink these implementation cycles. What used to take 4 to 6 months to deploy is now taking 6 to 8 weeks to get completely into production, and they're using tools like the Rapid Implementation Tool Suite that we use with all of our clients to allow us to go through and rapidly deploy a system for a brand new customer. So let's go ahead and take a look at, and in this demonstration we're going to focus on some of the proactive capabilities of Dynamics GP. And I'm going to start over here in the Business Portal. And the Business Portal is a web-based solution. It's actually based on the SharePoint platform. It comes with Dynamics GP, so there's no additional software to purchase. But there was a study out by AMR a couple years ago that said that only 15% of the employee base actually have direct access to the ERP system. Well, it really kind of begs the question is that the other 85% of the workforce, how are they doing their jobs? How are they getting the information that they need in order to run the production floor or to run their particular department, and seeing that? And Microsoft's answer is through the Business Portal, deploying a web-based system that is completely plumbed up with the data from Dynamics GP. And you can kind of look along the side here. So there's information around the Employee Center. This is employee self-service. So if I move and I want to change my address that my paycheck might get mailed to, or my W-2 gets mailed to, I can go and change that in the Employee Center. If I have a life-changing event, I get married or I have a child and I want to change the number of exemptions, I'm able to do that through the Employee Center. Managers, the same thing. On the HR side of things, being able to see the latest reviews of their employees, what their rates of pay are, how much PTO they have, etc., and being able to answer those questions and service their internal customers, their employees, through this web portal. And then some of the other capabilities, and we'll look at a few of those, and just for sake of time, I'm going to pop open the Executive Center over here. And one of the things that Microsoft is doing is visualizing the data that's coming out of the ERP system. So if we look at this pie chart that's down here of the top 5 customers by year-to-date sales, we're able to see the different customers that are in there and be able to drill in actually into the details of that and drill down into the invoice information and, with the proper security permissions, obviously, be able to actually pull up a copy of a customer invoice. Some of the other things that are out there as far as different types of metrics, and these are just different visualization tools, gauges and trying to satisfy the number people, as well as some visual indicators of positive, negative, or neutral change through this company overview dashboard. And everything that we're looking at here is actually out of the box, non-modified or customized or anything like that, but Microsoft using their tool sets that come with the application. Maybe these different metrics are not that relevant to you. You can actually alter them and personalize them to your business. Besides the visualization tools, the charting, graphing, etc., Microsoft understands that as an ERP system, or certainly as a financial system, a lot of people are using Excel as an analysis tool. And so what they've done is they've published over 200 Excel-based reports. For people that have been using Dynamics GP for a while, you might be familiar with SmartList, which is a querying tool inside the actual application itself. And most people that are using SmartList will go ahead and filter down their data and then actually go ahead and export it right away to Excel. And so Microsoft asked the question, why do we have them export as a customer or as an end user? Why do we have them export out to Excel? Why don't we just start in Excel? And so what you're seeing here is I kind of backed up. These are all the different series that GP is organized into. So I'm just going to go into the sales series, and we're going to look at some of the reports that are here in Excel. And I'm just going to click on this receivables transactions default view. And what we're seeing is it's actually pulling up all of the transactions from the AR module, and it's sorting those out automatically and putting the data filters on. And so maybe I just want to see my sales invoices. So I'm just using normal out-of-the-box Excel-based functionality to filter down the information. Now, if I want to do additional analysis, I can go ahead and highlight out this section here. And once again, just using normal Excel-based capabilities, insert a pivot table automatically over here and choose OK. And I'm going to drag down in, let's see here, let's grab the customer name and then the amount that we're going to drop in. And by default, it's doing account. So I want to change this up and change it to a sum. And so I can see all the details here. And then I'm seeing a summary of all that sales amount that I have in this particular pivot table. We use pivot charts, etc. And really the benefit of this is it's a dynamic report at this point in time. Every time I open this report, what the system is doing is it's going through and refreshing the data straight from Dynamics GP. And so the days of static spreadsheets where we've exported something out from SmartList or we've keyed it into Excel are gone because Microsoft's done the work to plumb the spreadsheet directly up to your Dynamics GP data. Now, once again, security applies to all of this, and so if I don't have access rights to the sales series, I'm not going to be able to see that. But, I can see anything that we've given privileges rights to. Now, in addition to Excel as a reporting and analysis tool, the other thing, Microsoft is pushing reports through the business portal, and things like in the financial series, a trial balance report. Maybe I want to see the net change of the GL accounts that we have in the system, but I'm not a GP user. I'm a department head, and I want to see my cost center, and I want to see the details behind it. I'm now able to run these reports that used to be only inside the application itself straight from the web, and then also use the subscription capabilities of these reports saying, I want to see this report, but I want the report to be sent to me automatically via email every Monday at 9 a.m. So besides the reports that we have in Excel, the reports that we have in SQL reporting services, and the over 1,200 reports that come out of the box with Dynamics GP, we also have the ability to publish our financial reports out to the web as well. And once again, security applies, so if you don't have the security rights to see these things, you're not going to be able to see them. But within here, I'm looking at a profit and loss for the month of April, my month to date, my year to date, etc. And I can look at what is called a reporting tree, and these are the different units or the different departments that I might have in my organization. And so by changing this, I can start dynamically drilling down through my organization, seeing certain trends and other things that are out there. And it's also interactive. And so if I move over to another report, what we see here is we see salaries and wages have a little bubble, a little indicator saying that there's a comment out there. And so we can collaborate with our department heads or with the finance department and explain why a particular account might have a little bit more of a variance, and look at charts and graphs related to that and drill down into the details and keep moving in until we finally get to the information that we need. And so in kind of one more summary look of things is also Power Pivot, and this is actually a free tool that's available in Office 2010 and above. And so the pivot table that I generated for the receivables transactions was fairly common. I mean, it just had some data in it. Yes, it was connected to Dynamics GP, but the presentation quality of it was a little bit to be desired. And so if we look here, we have different visualization tools using Power Pivot, which is just extending the capabilities of our pivot charts and pivot graphs and pivot tables to be able to do things like drilling down and exploring, say, like the salesperson information that we want of a particular graph that we have here. And by doing this, we're actually going to drill down into the details of every row that we're choosing and be able to automatically see who sold that particular amount of profit. And so these charts are actually exposed through the business portal. They're available inside Dynamics GP. And then they also can be on a local machine as well. So I'm going to run out and hop on a plane, but I want to do some analysis. You can actually download these and have them offline to do some additional analysis while you're disconnected. And just a real quick view of things. So I'm coming over here to the main Dynamics GP application. And just to show you, there's those Excel reports that we just looked at, the reporting services reports, and if you're an existing GP customer and you still like to use Smart Lists, you can still use your Smart List favorites right from here, from the sales page. So let's go back to our presentation and talk about a couple more things. So simplicity and agility. Microsoft actually, with every version that they publish, they do extensive usability studies, and I had the opportunity one time when I was up in Redmond to see this. And what they do is they actually bring in a dozen or so people into a room, and there's some workstations set up with Dynamics GP, and they're given a task. I need you to put a sales order into Dynamics GP, and they set them in front of the computer. And there's cameras that are focusing on the screen and on them and everything else, but they don't give them any instruction. They just watch them try and kind of painfully suffer through figuring out where to put a sales order into Dynamics GP. And what they're trying to do is they're actually trying to see how people are thinking, how they're kind of puzzling it out to put it on in. And then making the system more intuitive. They're improving it so that each and every time that they do one of these usability studies, people are actually able to perform the task, create the transaction a lot quicker than they were able to in prior versions. Now, on the cloud side of things, Microsoft is leveraging this Windows Azure platform, and they're allowing people to have the power of choice. They can go ahead and go to the cloud on your terms. And what that means is you can have your ERP solution located on-premise, the traditional way of deploying a Dynamics GP solution. You can kind of take an intermediate step and outsource that to a hosting partner. And there's a number of hosting partners that are available here in North America. And then finally, you can actually outsource to Microsoft and have Microsoft host that application for you. And one of the things that you're getting through a hosting partner or through a Microsoft deployment is all of the maintenance, the patching, the service packs that come out on a quarterly basis, etc. All of those things are getting bundled together into a single cost. And so that gives you better control as to how much you're paying for the solution in both internal and external costs, because you're not having your IT department having to take the system down quarterly to apply a patch in the evening hours. Microsoft is taking care of that, or the hosting partner is taking care of that, and they're doing it during the off hours, and you're kind of not even noticing that a change has happened. So they're keeping the system up to date and ready to go. For people that don't already own Dynamics GP, that's the other thing. By going to the cloud, you can kind of pay as you go. You don't have to come out of pocket for the licensing costs all at once. You can just pay for the use of Dynamics GP through a hosting partner or through Microsoft. Now, some of the other things that Microsoft is doing is they're also starting to weave in some of the other technology that's out there. Windows 8 launching last year, we're seeing a lot more of that Metro UI that came out with Windows 8 leverage inside GP. If you think about the financial statements that we just looked at, it's actually a tablet-enabled system. Can't really demonstrate that on a webinar, but we're seeing that there. Integration into Windows Phone, being able to look up information from Dynamics GP through a phone device, a tablet device, etc. And then the Connect capabilities of Xbox. Well, Xbox is looked at as more kind of a gaming platform. The Connect, where you're the controller, that is becoming more of an input device with Dynamics GP with each and every version. We saw it with 2010. Some of the demonstrations, if you've seen them before, were a little corny, I guess, where you're folding your arms up to close a window and you're opening your arms wide to open a window. But Microsoft is actually seeing a lot of traction of this, especially in the medical space. They're putting Connect devices into operating room theaters. And so, if you've seen the movie Minority Report, where Tom Cruise is kind of waving his hands and moving, pictures from one side of the screen to the other, doctors are actually using Connect now to look at X-rays during the course of an operation, or MRIs and other images or patient records that they need. But in a sterile environment, you can't really go and grab that X-ray and look at it. You need somebody to do that, but you're having to give them instructions. And so using the Connect capabilities, we're able to do that without having to contaminate the environment. And we're going to see more and more of that pushing down into the business side of Microsoft Dynamics. So let's go to our second demonstration, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the capabilities that Microsoft is providing through its cloud offerings. And those cloud offerings can be still an on-premise, a hosted, or a Microsoft-hosted environment. So if we look at our main homepage of Dynamics GP, and here's some of those KPIs that we just saw, but now they're embedded inside Microsoft Dynamics, and some quick links, our to-do lists, etc. And then maybe come down to the financial series and see the ability to go ahead and see our transactions, inquiry, the things that we're used to. But the area pages now are interactive, and so what we can do is we can expand certain sections and contract them. So if we want to see more transactional capabilities, we can expand that out. And then just dragging and dropping these things in different areas allow us to reposition our menus where those area pages in prior versions weren't capable of being adjusted. They just adjusted based upon your security rights. But let's go back over here to our web interface. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over here to the Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 web client. And so you can see kind of a very similar homepage to what I just looked at. And if we go down to the financial series here, we're going to see the same navigation pane across the way here, our transactions, the drag and drop capabilities that I was doing before, expanding out our transaction section like I did before. The user experience inside the web client is exactly the same as the thick client or the traditional client. And so let's just do something simple from a transactional standpoint. What I'm going to do is I'm opening up the journal entry window inside the web client. And I'll take you over to the thick client here, but let's go and book an entry. So I'm going to put this in a batch so that we can save it so that we're not posting it right now. Demo transaction. And I'm going to come down here into my account screen. And so we can do intercompany transactions just like we can inside the main client, but I'm going to do a lookup, and if there's any accountants joining us today, bear with me because I'm actually going to be journal entry direct to cash accounts, and so most of us, will cringe at the thought of somebody directly booking to a cash account, but hang in there. We're only doing this for demonstration's sake, and so I'm putting in a negative debit, which is going to throw me onto the credit side. So I have a balanced transactions. My debits and credits equal. We can still kind of keep on listing these things on out. But let's go ahead and save this. And this is journal entry 3528. You can see that right there. So I'm going to save this off. And I'm just going to close the window down. We're going to go back over to our main thick client. And we want to look at 3528. Well, there's the webinar transaction, the demo transaction we just put in, and the transaction right here. And so what this means to most people is the requirement to use Citrix or a remote desktop environment that Microsoft has, like terminal services. We're now able to use the web client with full security, integration into Active Directory as well, to be able to perform transactions inside Dynamics GP, but from a web client. Your users won't necessarily need to have the traditional thick client loaded on their local workstations, and what that means from an IT perspective is less things to patch. We're going to patch up the web server with a service pack rather than having to go out and visit 30, 40 different workstations on out there. So that's a little bit about the web client. We'll open it up for questions later on, but let me come back to our presentation here and talk about kind of the where GP is going. Kind of it's great to see 2013 out there and what it has to offer. But if we're making an investment inside Dynamics GP, we want to know not only what does it have today, but where is it going in the future. And so we're seeing that Microsoft is teeing up Dynamics GP for a GP version 14 release sometime late next year. And that's going to add additional usability and other business functionality. And then that last bullet point there, reducing the amount of implementation time into days, not weeks and months. And then the roadmap currently goes all the way through 2017 with the release of what they're calling GP version 15. And we can send you over a statement of direction that talks about the details of all these versions that they have on the roadmap. But on the web client side of things, we're really starting off here. We're in phase 1 of the web client release. It came out with 2013. And so the series that are available is the financial series. So this is AP, general ledger, receivables, as well as the distribution components, the inventory control module, the sales order module, the purchase order module. All of those things are fully functional with GP 2013 today. As Microsoft continues to release additional functionality in the web client, we'll see HR and payroll moving into the web client. Then they're going to add in project accounting, the project series, field service, and then finally in phase 5, the manufacturing suite will be completely enabled inside the web client. So that's our tour as far as people that are potentially new to Microsoft Dynamics GP. For For those of you that already own Dynamics GP, there's over 150 additional features that have been added into Dynamics GP 2013 over GP 2010. And there's significant investment in the core product. You can see kind of, all of these features jumping up onto the screen. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to walk through the different series and talk about the different features that have been released comparing 2010 to 2013. And so on the system feature side, this is application-wide features. There's been additional enhancements to security to be able to password protect the output of the different Word templates and emails and everything else that come on out there, so that you make sure that the person that's opening them up is actually privileged to open those things. The named user side of things is actually going away. It's listed up there as a change. They're changing what used to be named users, which was the GP Business Portal that we've been taking a look at this morning, and turning those into concurrent users. And so the ability to roll out the Business Portal could potentially, if you wanted to roll out to the entire organization, be a costly endeavor, because you'd have to purchase a license for every single person in your organization, whether they're using it or not. And now, changing those named users to concurrent, you'll be able to go ahead and roll this out and just know that only a certain amount of people will be in at any given point in time, but it's not cost prohibitive. Select printer at the time of print, well, most people would say that's not a huge thing. If you've used GP in the past and you've actually printed a report out to the screen and said, okay, well, I want to print a hard copy of that, and you realize that the default printer that you have selected is not the printer you actually want to send the report to, you have to cancel out and change the printer and then regenerate the report. Well, now you'll be able to select a different printer at the time of printing. We're going to support now 64-bit Outlook, and so we'll be able to go ahead and support that. That's been something that people have been asking for quite some time. And then the document attachment side of things is another feature out there that I'm going to walk you through in a second. We've always had the ability to attach documents, but we haven't had the ability to, we've attached them through these object linking, the transaction notes or the window notes. Now there's a completely independent section that allows us to attach multiple documents, be able to view those a lot quicker and easier, and share those out because they're actually stored in the database. They're not stored in a folder. If we look at some of the financial features that we have introduced inside Dynamics GP, year-end closing. If you've used GP in the past and you've participated in the year-end closing process, the year-end close screen is just a screen that shows you what retained earnings account the balance or the P&L is going to be closed out to, and what the journal entries that it's going to be used for the year-end close. But once you click the button to kick off the year-end close, there's really no visual cue to show you that it's actually working at this point in time. And so what they've done is they've actually added a progress bar to the year-end close options so that when the button is pressed, you can actually see how it's processing the year-end closing process. So there's some ability to, now on the historical inquiry windows, there's not two separate windows to look at historical years versus current years and realize you have to switch windows there. They're all included in the same screen. And then the reconcile to GL. I don't know if anybody's been using that. We could reconcile the subledgers of receivables and payables to the control accounts in our general ledger. But they've added in the capability now to reconcile the inventory and as well as the bank reconciliation module. And that's also something I'm going to walk you through in just one second. Analytical accounting, there's some additional features there as far as being able to copy analytical dimension codes from one journal entry or a sales order or purchase order to another, just easing the data entry of analytical accounting users. So if we Look at some of the other features as it relates to the fixed assets module. Historical depreciation reporting. Most of our customers, I know I started working with Dynamics GP back in version 3.15, so quite some time ago. And since those days, the user community has been asking for a historical book value or a historical depreciation report. And finally, after years in the making, it's actually out there. And so no longer do we have to keep all the hard copies of prior year or prior month depreciation so that we can go back and have historical reporting. We'll actually be able to generate that straight out of the system at this particular point in time. One of the other features, if we're running multiple companies, is the ability to transfer now an asset from one company to another. And it not only transfers the asset and all the asset setup information from one database to another or one company to another, it also takes care of all the accounting treatment of that, making sure that the book value of that asset is moved over. The accumulated depreciation or amortization is also moved over if you're dealing with any intangibles. On the bank rec side of things, some changes to support BAI format, as well as we talked about the reconciliation capabilities with the general ledger. In payables, there's some enhancements to voiding. And so when a check run is run, if you're using the select checks function inside Dynamics GP, there's an option to auto-apply credit memos and unapplied payments. And so if a payment that had an unapplied payment automatically applied to it is voided, GP used to put just the net payable back in as an open payable that could be picked up on another check run. And now the void enhancement, when we void a check that had some sort of credit memo, debit memo, unapplied payment automatically applied by the system, it completely unravels the transactions and puts them back into their previous unapplied state. So just a cleaner process there to be able to void checks and have the system kind of roll itself back to the proper information. So also the ability to reprint a check remittance. So a particular customer vendor loses the remittance advice and wants a copy of that, you'll now be able to go ahead and reprint that. On the receivable side of things, some user-defined labels for customer addresses. This is helpful if, especially on the sales side of things, the sales order side, if you need to reference a different customer name for the ship to information in a particular sales order, you'll now be able to do that using these user-defined labels. On the distribution side, there's some new features in the inventory module for inactive items. So just like we had in receivables and payables, we have the ability to put a customer or a vendor on hold. In essence, that's exactly what this is in the inventory side of things. We're able to put an item on hold. We no longer have to set it to discontinued and run the risk of selling something that we don't want to. We can go ahead and inactivate them. And then reason codes, we'll see that in just a second. The ability when we're doing inventory adjustments or moves or transfers to be able to go ahead and add the reason for the adjustment or the transfer or so on. And what that's doing is it's putting in structured data so that the analytics related to our inventory adjustments, et cetera, are more meaningful because we have some standardization there. Some of the other capabilities on the serial number side of things, if anybody's a serial numbered or serial controlled company, adding non-sequential serial numbers when you're either moving things from one location to another or selling it off to a customer was it was an onerous task. You had to kind of pick each one individually, and now using the Control and Shift keys, just like you would in Excel or Word, you're able to select multiple serial numbers that are not sequential, and so the fulfillment process is a lot easier. On the sales order side of things, we talked about the address name change, which is kind of what we saw up on when I talk about receivables. Also being able to consolidate POs from dropship sales orders, so multiple sales orders that feed into a single PO. Consolidation there, and then also combined invoices. So we have a customer that has multiple sales orders that are shipped on the same day. Before, you used to get discrete invoices, one for each one of those sales orders that were shipped, and now you can choose to go ahead and combine those onto a single invoice and reduce the number of invoices that are being sent to your customers for payment. On the suggested selling side of things, we've always had alternate items, but now we can go ahead and put suggested items of, people that bought this item would also, typically buy this other, the Amazon.com type of process, and we can go ahead and look at those suggested selling items and suggest those to our customers. And then finally, email indicators showing us that an email has already been sent out to do order acknowledgement, invoices, etc. So just so we're not sending multiple emails for the same function. On the purchase order side of things, prepayments on purchase orders is something that people have been asking for quite some time, and we're seeing that now. And let me kind of keep popping along. I don't, based upon the number of attendees, I don't know if we've have anybody that's actually using the field service suite. But you can see that there's a number of things that have been added to the field service suite, and we're happy to go ahead and share those with you. If for some reason I'm incorrect, and the people attending are using the contract administration module or service call management, etc., we can go ahead and take care of that during questions and answers. So I'm going to roll through and jump back over to our live transactional system. And let's come down here to the sales series first and pull open a customer. And what we're going to see here is I'm just going to pull open the first customer in our demonstration company. Up here, where we used to have just the printer icon, we now have the attachment management icon. And this is throughout the system. Any windows that you see me opening up, you'll see this icon up there. And what that allows us to do is go ahead and add in additional documents. And what we need to do is just, go ahead and choose an item, and apparently it chose the exact same item that I had just put on in there. So we'll grab this, I'm batting 1,000 here, this dashboard, and roll that on in, and you'll see that it's user date and time stamping. And using the show and hide buttons, I can also go ahead and put in additional description about the document itself. And the key to this here is, unlike the object linking embedding, the node icon that we had up here where it was actually stored in a particular folder or a network file share, it's actually being pulled up and stored inside the database. And so regardless of what workstation you're on or where you're at, you'll be able to get at the documents because they're pulled up and into the database and available for all of our users. And so that's a little bit about the document attachment capabilities that are inside Dynamics GP. Real quick on the address information features that I talked about, the additions here is the ability to add in this address name, and you can see here, some options about what we're going to allow to be printed on a particular document. But this allows us to go ahead and ship to a customer where the customer Aaron Fitz is going to be paying this invoice, but they might want it shipped to their customer. And so being able to put in a different address information in there. And then we're also seeing these little bubbles as we're going along. And what these bubbles are is the presence indicators, the integration between Dynamics GP and Office 365 and the link communication tool, so that if we knew that Bob Fitz was online, this bubble would light up and be green, and we'd be able to go ahead and communicate with him via instant messaging or Microsoft Link. So if we pop down to the purchasing series and we open up the purchase order entry window, what we're going to be able to see here is the prepayment capabilities of Dynamics GP in the purchase order module. What it will allow us to do is, by putting in a value for prepayment, our vendor is going to require a deposit. We can go ahead and open up the prepayment window. I have mine password protected with the most secret password called access. Which is just the default password for anything that's in the demonstration companies. But then we can choose a prepayment type, a computer check, and the system will actually go ahead and stub out a payment that can be picked up on the next check run. Or if a manual payment's already been made, we can apply a check automatically to the purchase order itself and be able to go ahead and only have the net amount of that payment due once we go through the three-way matching, the intermatch invoicing process. And so just a new feature there that allows us to go ahead and record that prepayment, putting it into an other asset account, and then after we go through the vouching process, it'll actually go ahead and apply that and bring it on down. If we look at some of the other features here, which are on the financial series and more kind of the reconciliation routines, what we'll see is the ability to go ahead and track the number of reconciled, number of times that we've done a reconciliation. So in this case here, we're doing payables, but you can see the other options that are out there, receivables, inventory, and bank rec being the new additions there. The list of our control accounts, and if we go ahead and process this, what we're going to see is it's actually going to create or generate a spreadsheet for us and list out all of the completely unmatched transactions. So good news, I don't have any unmatched where it found it in the ledger or they found it in the subledger and not in the ledger. But then we have some potentially unmatched transactions. And one of the new features that's throughout the reconciliation capabilities is the hyperlink capabilities of Dynamics GP. And so by clicking on that particular link there, it's going to launch the appropriate window from an inquiry standpoint and allow us to be able to see information. So Excel and Dynamics GP completely interactive and be able to launch those things, launch additional inquiry windows from inside the Excel spreadsheet and interact with Dynamics GP as we're going through this. So we'll go and close that on down, and then we'll talk about. Let me pop back over here to our presentation, and let's segue into the licensing side. And so GP, from a new customer standpoint, you can still buy Dynamics GP 2010. It's still available until November of this year. But then after that, you're going to have to buy 2013, and it's on a perpetual licensing basis. And it's really no different than how it was sold in the past. Microsoft is trying to make it more intuitive that you're not paying the same amount year over year over year. You're buying the license once. It's a perpetual license that you own, and then you just pay your annual maintenance to keep updated with that. So if we look at how it's being priced, Microsoft's trying to simplify that. And so the starter package is going to be all of the core financials, the distribution modules, and 3 full users for $5,000. There's a discount promotion going on right now through the middle part of June that that starter pack's actually $3,000. They're providing a 40% discount off of that. And then the extend pack gives us advanced functionality like manufacturing, like project accounting, etc. And then you can see the full and the limited users, both of these being concurrent users. The major difference between other versions in Dynamics GP 2013 is these limited users used to be only for the web-based applications, so the business portal, etc. And now you're able to, inside Dynamics GP, denote somebody as a limited user and give them full access rights to Dynamics GP, but they're only able to do it in a read-only state. And this limited right capabilities is more related around some of the HRIS functions, as well as requisitioning and timekeeping as well. So here's a list of some of the capabilities that are inside the starter pack. You can see that there's a lot of modules out there. You kind of turn on what you need, but know that if somewhere down the road maybe you don't need electronic banking right away, the ability to do EFTs on the payables or receivable side. You can start small and add things as you're going along. You're not paying anything additional. You're just turning on additional functionality that you already own. On the extend pack, this is where I talked about before of some of the supply chain capabilities as it relates to returns, RMA, RTV functions, the manufacturing processes, as well as some of the field service components as well. You see those here in the extend pack. And then some additional packs as it relates to advanced human resources and payroll. The customization capabilities of the system, being able to integrate it to other line of business systems, as well as to be able to customize or personalize the screens, build new screens, etc. And then Smart List that we talked about before, where you can build new Excel reports that maybe tie into data that's outside of Dynamics GP, but there's a link there. Also changing some of the navigation capabilities, drill down capabilities in Smart List. So that's more on the new customer side of things. From an existing customer standpoint, the license model transition is what Microsoft's calling the transition from the old licensing model to the new. And like I said, this is kind of affects everybody that's using Dynamics GP to date, that as you transition, you're transitioning over to the 2013 licensing. Those light users and employee self-service users are being turned into limited users, and you're moving from 2013 forward. And so if you're planning out an upgrade, we can get you test keys right now that don't lock you into ultimately having to upgrade. We can generate trial keys that work for about 3 months, so that you can test out the functionality and the capabilities. And then when we're ready to do the migration, we'll assist you through that process and work through that transaction with Microsoft. So if we look at a typical customer that already owns Dynamics GP, they're running GP 2010. You can kind of see the different modules here, the prices that they've paid for those modules, and that there's a protected list price. And what that really is it's the basis for the annual maintenance. So on the enhancement plan, it's 16% of that protected list price. Well, as you transition over to GP 2013, there is going to be a licensing change, and you can see here that the foundation pack moves to the starter pack, and that includes those first 3 users. But the customer on the left-hand side of the screen had 8 users, so there's 5 additional full users. Because they're advanced management, they have the capabilities of tying into manufacturing, project accounting, etc. So the extend pack comes in. The named users come over, and every named user gets converted to a concurrent user. You might not need all of those, but you can see that the list price down below is $82,000. But the big thing here is Microsoft is not going to make you pay anything more for that, and so you'd still maintain the $64,000 list price there. And so, it's somewhat complicated, but the good news is that we've kind of figured it all out, and we'll make it easy for you so that you understand what you need to do in order to transition over. And at least our experience to date has been that most customers that are transitioning, there's no out-of-pocket costs other than our services to help you through the upgrade process, but there's no licensing costs necessary. If anybody's actually purchased Dynamics GP in the 4th quarter of last year, there's a license credit transition, and what that means is, certainly any customers that we sold Dynamics GP to during the 4th quarter, we'd advised them of kind of how this was going to work once 2013 came out, and it's what it is a dollar-for-dollar transition, and so that using that same makeup of the user over here, they paid about $64,000, and what they're doing is they're saying, okay, underneath the new model in here, it's about $57,000, so there's $7,000 remaining, and from there we can purchase additional concurrent users if we need them, or we can reduce our list price that is the basis for our maintenance by that $7,000, so reducing the cost for years 2 and beyond. So what are the next steps here? We would recommend doing a very light assessment. This could be, an hour. It might be just a 30-minute phone call to understand, if you're not a customer of ours today, how you're licensed and what that licensing transition is going to look like for you. Take a look at your hardware and determine what you're going to need in order to move to 2013. We have the hardware requirements, and those will be published out, and Jacob, our marketing manager, will be sending those on out to all of the attendees so that you can download those, not only for the traditional application and the server, but also the web client itself. So if you want to start taking advantage of some of those things. And that assessment is actually going to drive out a statement of work based upon your needs, what it's going to take from our side of things to help you through the upgrade from the version that you're on today to Dynamics GP 2013. Or in the case of a net new customer, what are you going to need from us in order to get the software installed, migrate your data, train your users, and deploy this. And certainly FMT's account managers for existing customers will work very closely with you and your team to make sure that your transition to GP 2013 is smooth and kind of painless. So we got a couple promotions going on right now for everybody that doesn't have Dynamics GP. We're providing a 2-hour complimentary assessment. This is done with our field GP consultants that are working out with our customers on a day-to-day basis. And if you engage us to do your upgrade or to implement Dynamics GP for you, we're offering up 10% off of our standard rates, no questions asked. And like I said before, Microsoft currently has a discount going on the GP 2013 starter pack for $3,000 instead of the $5,000. The only kind of caveats here is that our calendars are booking up pretty quickly as far as upgrades go, and so we're looking to get a commitment from you to do an upgrade or do an implementation. The statement of work, we just need that signed by the end of next month. Doesn't mean you have to start right away. We just want to be able to go ahead and slot you in to make sure that we have the people available when you're ready to upgrade. And certainly if you already own Dynamics GP, we'll spend a couple hours with you understanding your environment and working with you to craft out an upgrade plan that is kind of there's no impact on your organization as we're walking you through that upgrade process there. With that, I'm going to unmute the lines and go ahead and open up the lines for anybody that has any questions or other things that we might be able to go ahead and address at this point. So with that, all the lines are unmuted at this point in time. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask now.
So what's the deal on frame rate? Because it shows up in the patch log, right? I mean, and the report.
I think somebody maybe is having a conversation with somebody else in the room there and not asking a question.
Get allocated to someone else then?
Well, with this, I want to thank you all for attending. Certainly feel free to reach out to us, with any questions or comments that you have. Just some additional information as far as what's coming up. Next week is Microsoft Convergence, which is the big Dynamics user conference in New Orleans. If for some reason you're already planning on attending, I know that we know that most of our customers that are going. But we'd love to engage with you there and talk more kind of, face-to-face. We got about 6 people from our firm going to be out there. So, feel free to reach out and contact us. We'd love to have a face-to-face meeting with you at Convergence or kind of upon your return, be able to come out to your offices and meet with you there. You can see our phone number is right there on the screen. Our website is fmtconsultants.com. There's a contact us page that you can go ahead and request a meeting or request a phone call there. Once again, I appreciate everybody for spending about an hour with me and seeing what's new in 2013. Hopefully this has been beneficial, and we look forward to having you join us on other events. Thank you, and have a good day.